Hello everyone, and welcome to the Trending in My Life podcast, episode 51. This week, come with me down my rabbit hole of thoughts. I was walking along the street and I heard this child say, "Mommy, the mermaid's gone." And that's when I noticed a huge piece of street art that took up the side of a house to about a third of the way up it had been replaced by a different piece of street art. But the contrast was huge. I'm going to use the picture of the piece of street art the child was talking about as the image for this podcast. And I am guilty of taking it for granted and walking past it and not really valuing how much I enjoyed looking at it. And now it's gone because the child was completely right. It's been painted over. The piece that replaced it is such a stark contrast. It has a black background as opposed to the beautiful bluey water that the mermaid was swimming in. And then it's coloured. It's not exactly writing. It's not just a pattern, and I can't tell you what it is really. But it's not something that I'm going to enjoy looking at because, like the child that I heard talking to his mother, I miss the mermaid. And my sort of journey to and from work takes me past it occasionally, not always. But when I have walked past it, I've felt a sense of loss and, I miss it. I miss the mermaid being there. And to be fair, it had been there, I think 2 to 3 years. It had been there a long time for a piece of street art. Some of them don't last more than a couple of weeks and get painted over by other artists. But because this one is in a side street, rather than a main thoroughfare, I think that's why it had been left as it was for so long. And I remember when I decided to take a photo of it to put in a short, I had to wait because there's a window in part of the picture, or just above the top, and it was August, and I went back a couple of times because people had got like shirts hanging out to dry out of the window, and I didn't want to get those in the shot that I was aiming at. But yes, and so come with me down that rabbit hole because it got me thinking and pondering, and like, when things like that change, how do we deal with it? In that, I wouldn't have said it was a big part of my life. Like I said, I don't walk past it every day. It's occasional, although part of a route which I go on my commute to work are actually more often when I'm coming home that I've gone a different way. And why do I still feel when I walk past it, I miss the mermaid? Why haven't I adjusted? Because, like I say, it's a fact of life that street art doesn't stay there for years and years, although some does. I think it depends. It must be the reputation of the artist, how important they are, whether it stays for a long time. I've noticed sometimes if they're under railway bridges, they'll stay longer. And I think it's because it's quite rare for railways, or I don't know who's in charge of the underneath of a railway bridge, but quite often they get painted over with black paint. And I'm assuming that's the railways or some kind of people associated with the nearest station don't allow them to be painted there. So when they are there, they don't get painted over by other artists very often, probably because they think that their own work might be painted over with black paint by, say, whoever, because it's railway property or the railways don't allow it, whatever. Some of those stay in place longer. But yeah, so I'm still not letting go of that. I think it's because it was a very positive image, and it used to make me feel summery when I saw it, and things like that make you smile and feel happy. Don't want them to disappear. But I felt really sorry for the child, because clearly he'd enjoyed seeing it when he passed. He was on his way home from school or from nursery where his mum had picked him up, and it was just like the horror in his voice that the mermaid had gone. And it was quite ironic that I was feeling exactly the same way, although clearly a lot older than the child was. So that got me going down a rabbit hole of thoughts about things like that. I think often we take things for granted until they're gone. And when they're gone, we're like, oh no, I should really have enjoyed that while I could, because it's gone now. And that applies to many things in life, because you take for granted what's always there. And in a relationship, quite often, the more years you're together, the more you take the other person for granted, and don't notice things like a new coat, a new haircut, a style change, more effort in a meal you're eating, but you just eat it and go to bed, and and don't even say thank you. Yeah, things like that. So that's something to be aware of. Don't take your partner for granted. But there are many other things as well. I'm just surprised the mermaid thing has preyed on my mind and been in my thoughts for I mean, it's been about a week now since that happened. But I'm surprised I'm still sort of harping on it, not able to let it go. So yeah, I mean, I think perhaps that's human nature, that we do take for granted things that become familiar, and then we do feel a sense of loss and miss them when they're gone. Going back to the street art thing, I have noticed recently quite a lot of street art that I've covered in my shorts has been painted over. Not all of it, but in certain areas it seems that lots is getting painted over all at once. And it may be that, like a group of street artists, now the weather is nice, they make an evening of it, changing ones that are in play. Such realistic pieces, especially if they depict people, and you could tell whoever painted them in the first place had taken a long time to do that picture. And then sometimes you get other artists come along and their style is completely different, and they will, within sort of an hour or something, have completely changed it and replaced it. And I do try, and not in the beginning when I was doing street art, because I'm on 30, I think, was the one I released at the weekend. When I was doing sort of 1 and 2 and 3, the very ones at the beginning, they were all, how can I put it, very, I want to say very good pieces. That's not what I mean, but they were all pieces of art that appealed to me. And when I started going to areas where there's a prolific amount of street art, I started recording other styles, because I thought it's all valid and you can't all be great artists, but you can have a style and repeat that style in different pieces in different parts of London. Because I do see a repeat artist and recognise how their work looks in different parts of London, because I travel around the boroughs, of which there's a lot, looking at pieces of art to record. Yeah, so I've tried to include different styles in my later shorts, so that, if you don't particularly like the epic mural type piece of street art, but prefer something that looks like a cartoon, or even is like a book character or a gaming character, things like that, then I will try, and in a short I will try and include clips like that, so that they balance the others. And I was doing some of my recent street art shorts are 14 clips within the minute, and others I've done recently have gone up to 18, 19 clips. And it just does depend on the size of the clip, whether I've scrolled or scrolled across it, or whether it's just a single shot. I'm rambling about street art again. It's funny, when I started my channel, I didn't intentionally decide to do that, but looking back over the years of photos I took prior to starting YouTube, I always did photograph pieces of street art that I liked. So it was always a part of my life. It's just more so now. I specifically look down alleyways. It sounds weird, but they are painted not on the main street, because the main street of a place will have shops, and unless you're going to paint them on the sort of pull down grating thing that they pull down overnight, then you do have to pick the side streets that are nearby. So also on my mind and my thoughts, it started with Mermaid, and I started thinking of summer, which we're in June now, so that is officially our summer in the UK. June, July, August are our peak summer months, although to be fair, June is sometimes cooler and September is sometimes hotter. It just depends. It's all that global warming thing. Anyway, thinking of summer, it's one of those things that I don't like to be out in the heat, so it will restrict my filming more. And my son said to me yesterday, actually, he said, "Oh, have you seen weather is going to go up to like 30°C soon?" And he said, just be aware of that. And it is something that if I go filming at the weekend at the moment, I will tend to go out 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and then try and be back by 12 o'clock, something like that. I went further afield this weekend on Saturday, so I was out till about 2 o'clock, but it was mostly the journey coming back that took longer, because I had finished filming by then. But yes, it started me thinking how the weather will affect my life in how much time I can spend out and about. And it doesn't mean I don't enjoy the summer, but I don't, like I said, I don't like to get too hot. I'll only feel nauseous, and I don't like to be a long way from home. And you can be a long way from home in London, still within London, because of how far it stretches. So the place I went to on Saturday was Richmond, and it is almost the furthest I will travel from home to do any filming. So yeah, I wanted to get it done before the weather got too hot. It had been on my list of places to visit and film for some time, and as usual, things don't all go to plan, but then you find things that you didn't expect, which are kind of random, and you think, well, actually that was really interesting, and sort of go from there. So hoping I will knock that into shape by Friday. So back to the Mermaid. Yeah, the Mermaid had that knock-on effect of making me think of appreciating things while you have them, not taking things for granted, and then how the weather can affect how we live our lives. I mean, equally, there are plenty of people that love to be in the sun, and for them every day of our summer is amazing because they can be out in the sun. I would always say, sun cream. Brits have this thing because we are known for not having good summers, although in recent years that's not true, but they do tend to go crazy and go lying in the sun and become lobster red from sunburn, which is not nice to see, and to a certain extent dangerous for skin cancer. But it's just one of those things that they get desperate for. Oh, this could be the only sun we get, or I'm not going to get a tan because I'm not going away this year or going abroad. Although, there are so many spray tans and fake tans in a bottle these days. A lot of people will prefer to do that than actually being in the sun with their skin. So yes, it got me thinking of summer, something that's on a lot of people's minds at the moment. They're either planning a vacation, or they're waiting for those dates to roll around where they've already booked it all and they can go away and enjoy it. There's that thing at the moment where somebody will go and have their vacation, they'll come back, they'll talk about it and say how wonderful it's been, and then sort of the next people in your circle of friends will be off on a vacation somewhere else, and then they'll come back and they'll talk about it, and each one of them has a different experience and has enjoyed it or not to varying extents. And it's always interesting to listen to where they've been and what they've done and how it all went down. So it's an interesting time of year for conversations about people's travels. I do think as well, a lot of us, as the years have gone by, have been limited in taking vacations to foreign countries because of cost of living rising. It's one of those things that ever since COVID and shortages of different kinds of foods, the cost of food has risen and risen and risen, and the services are the same. They were restricted in how much they could charge people by the government, and then they were released from that once things went back to the quotes normal, and then the prices just shot up and have continued to do so. And I remember in January, the first time I went to the supermarket and came back and went, that's £40 and I've got 2 carrier bags. That's insane. And and it has been a year where those prices just haven't come down, and that will lead people not to be able to afford their usual vacations. They haven't been able to put away as much money each month. So I think more and more people have been having those staycations like I had in May, where you go out and you have maybe day trips, but mostly you stay at home and you do the garden, or you do some renovating that's not too expensive. And it's a change of lifestyle. So I think one thing the Mermaid has taught me, if you see something and you like it, then value it and go back and visit it occasionally to continue to make you smile, or take a photo, or in my case, of course, I had a video of it. But yeah, if there are moments when you see something or you feel something or you do something that is very special, or you enjoy it, or looking back you think, oh yeah, that was great, then do give yourself the opportunity to go and look at it again, to go and see it again. It might even be that, you've got relatives that you don't see very often, but like you have cousins that are about the same age as you, and you really enjoy hanging out with them. But over the years, you haven't made the effort to do that so much, and maybe it will make you appreciate them and think, yeah, the Mermaid, that's it. I'll get in touch. We'll have a couple of days together, and so that we don't let it go too many years. I think living a life with no regrets is the aim, isn't it? It's the good life if you're doing that. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's just that you're too busy. It's sometimes that you just can't fit everything in. And it's sometimes that you just don't realise something is special until it's not there anymore. Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I know it was a bit random this week. If you can think of something that you've taken for granted and missed when it's gone, please put it in the comments below, and please like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, and come back next time. Bye for now.